Hi, I'm Mrs. Curry, your Viking librarian for Everett High School, here to help you with your research paper. In today's lesson, we're talking about how to actually locate the best resources. In previous lessons, we've talked about using CRAP to decide if a resource is good or not. If we go to Google and type in our keywords, sometimes we come back with over 1,000,000, 100,000,000, 300,000,000 hits on our search terms. How can we go through every single resource to apply the CRAP criteria and decide which are the best? We don't have time for that. So I'm going to show you the best way to find resources and use your time wisely. It's called MEL.org. MEL.org is a collection of databases. Databases are places to find information that are guaranteed to be reliable and meet the CRAP criteria. So that cuts out a lot of time for us, and it makes our job much easier. Come on, I'm going to show you how to use the MEL databases and use your time wisely.
MEL.org up here in the address bar. That's going to take us to this website. MEL.org stands for Michigan Electronic Library. This is free to anyone in the state of Michigan. If you are accessing it from outside of the state of Michigan, the website will ask you for a driver's license number to verify you're a Michigan resident. You should be able to click right in. We're going to start with e-resources. This gets us to the databases. You have 3 choices on how to access the databases, and the first one is browse all resources, but there are a lot of databases listed in MEL. And so you can narrow it down by going to public libraries or K-12 schools. I suggest we start with K-12 schools because it narrows it down by interest and reading level to middle school and high school students. So it takes away that whole step of trying to figure out if it's an appropriate source for you. Now we're going to click on teen because you're middle high school. And then you'll see they have something at the top called Best Bets. They have put at the top the ones that are most used and are most helpful, and I agree with them. We have Britannica, which is an encyclopedia. We'll be using this later and having a lesson that is just on how to use all the bells and whistles in Britannica. We have Explorer for high school, Explorer for middle school. We have a Gale in Context Opposing Viewpoints. We also have Prepare for College, but that's another subject. That's not really databases. That's just a tool for you to use. So we're going to use Explorer for high schools, but if you are in middle school and you feel like you're not a confident reader and you'd like a little lower reading level, you can click on Explorer for middle schools. They work exactly the same way. So let's look at Explorer. So a database, let's think about what that means. Data means information, and a base is a location. So basically, a database is a location for good information. Explorer is a database that is specifically for middle and high schoolers. And what it does is the people who run Explorer go and look for all of the magazine, journal, and news articles each day. They decide which ones are good resources according to the CRAP criteria that we talked about in an earlier video. And they put them all in one place so that they are searchable. So instead of going to Google and having to look through all those 500 million hits that we get when we use Google, we can come to the databases at MEL, and they have already sifted through all of those resources, and they only list the ones that are reputable. So that takes a lot of time and effort that we don't have to put in, that someone who knows a lot more about these topics than us has put that time in for us. So we can see this is Explorer. At the top of the page is the search bar. You can also search by topic this way also. But we've been talking about keywords. We're going to use keywords today to search. Remember, you're not using natural language. Natural language is an entire sentence, just like we would speak to one another. But keywords means we're using the words that are most important. And one of our main keywords is healthcare. So we are going to use healthcare. You can use any combination. We could say healthcare crisis, healthcare costs, healthcare poverty. We're going to just start out with general healthcare today. But remember, you can use more than one keyword or different combinations of keywords to get different results. We'll be talking about that more in depth in a later lesson. So we're going to hit search. And now it's going to show you that there are 90,404 results. That's a lot better than 50 million in Google, but I still don't have time to go through all of those results. Now I could go through the search bar and add in a different keyword, crisis, and let's see what happens when we add in more keywords. Now it's going to take us down to 552 results. It's getting better, but I still don't have time to read all of those articles and decide which one is best. So I can come over to refine results, and this is going to help me decide what kind of articles I want them to look for beyond just the keywords. So it's already chosen full text articles for me, so I'm not going to get any summaries. I want to make sure that's clicked. And then I can look here, I can limit it to full text or peer reviewed. Now peer reviewed is very important to know. Peer is someone who is on your level or your equal. So a scientist would have peers that are other scientists. And to review means to look it over. So an article that is peer reviewed means that someone else who is also an expert or other people in that field that know what the article is about have reviewed that article and they have said that it is a good article as well. So it's just not some guy all by himself out there writing some crazy article. It means that his peers or people who are equally as educated in the subject as he is have also looked at this article and decided that it is good information. So we can click peer reviewed and let's see what happens. Now we're down to 25 articles. That's much better, but I think we can even do better. And there's one other limiter I want to show you today. Actually two, but let's start with this one. It's the date of publication. Now, if we're talking about the healthcare crisis, and we're talking about the healthcare crisis right now, we would want dates that are very recent. You see that all of these articles are between 1990 and 2009. That means none of these articles are recent. What could I do to make this better? I think I'm going to unclick peer review. See, we can play around with these limiters and make them do what we want them to do. So we're back to 552 articles, but now we can go down here and choose, I want things that are only a year old or newer. So I'm going to choose to change this date to 2019. Now, when I update those limiters, that gives me 36 articles that have all been written within the last year. That's very helpful. Now, there's one last thing that I can change to see if it limits what I'm looking for. I can now choose the source type. I could choose, do I only want magazines? I certainly wouldn't want reviews. That's just telling me about other books, and I don't want that. I could use news sources, and I could use encyclopedias. I think I'm going to narrow mine down to just magazine articles because they're more in depth than news sites. Now I'm down to 16. This gives me a much better range. I can certainly skim through 16 articles a few minutes each and decide which ones I want to use. Remember, you only need one really good article to get started. So let's look through the titles and the summaries, and I think I would like to say the one that looks the best information for me, America's Fear Personal and National Healthcare Cost Crisis. Yes, because I'm talking about healthcare in America and Canada. This one is about American healthcare. So now I'm in the article, and I have the full article here that I can read. You'll see there's a table of contents, so I can decide to go to different sections of the article rather than read the entire article. I could read just the section that affects my research question. But the other thing I want you to look at is the tools that are on the right side of the screen. Any database you use, whether it's through mel.org or if you have other databases you'll be accessing in the future, they all have the same tools. Now, it may not look like this page. They may be located somewhere different at the top of the toolbar or maybe on the left-hand side. Sometimes they're above the title, but they have the same tools. So once you learn how to use MEL resources, you'll be able to use any database by using the techniques that I show you today. So the tools you have, you can share this article in Google Classroom, or maybe your teacher is asking you to turn in an article that you're going to be using. You can share it in Google Classroom with your teacher. You can save it to your Google Drive. Maybe you have a shared drive that you're using. You can add it to a folder on your desktop. You can print it out. Sometimes I like to print it out because it's easier for me to take notes with a highlighter than on the screen. But that's up to you, what you feel comfortable with. You can email it to yourself or a friend. You can save it on a thumb drive. You can export it, and you can create notes. There are two that I want to go in more in depth, and that's citing your sources and the permalink. The permalink means that you can always access this article. If you copy and paste this URL up here, and you copy and paste this into a document, and then tomorrow you go back and click on that link, you will not find this article. The URL for the article changes every single day because they are constantly adding new sources and things get moved around. So I would hate for you to find this great article, and then in a week when you go to use it to write your paper, you find that the article is missing because the link does not work and it is broken. So you're going to use the permalink. When you click on permalink, it's going to give you this link right here. See where it says permalink, and you can highlight, copy, and paste that. This permalink will work today, tomorrow, next month, and next year to find this article in the MEL databases. So make sure you are copying the permalink, not the URL, but the permalink if you want to be able to locate the source again. The other thing you're going to need to know is how to cite your source. Because if you do not cite your source, it's plagiarism and that's stealing someone else's ideas, and we do not do that. If you are using a Google source and you have to cite your source, you have to go to a tool and add the information in yourself. Sometimes that is very difficult. You can't find the author, or you don't know when it was last updated, you're not sure what the name of the website is, and your citation is not correct. But if you use a database, it's very easy. All you have to do is click the Cite button, and now we need to know what our teacher is expecting of us. Let's say our teacher is expecting MLA citation. There's APA, Turabian, Harvard. There is MLA. All I have to do is highlight and then copy and paste it into my Google Doc, and my Works Cited page is already formatted for me. The only thing I would be expected to do is alphabetize by the first letter in each citation. And it's all done correctly. Every period, every comma, every apostrophe is in the exact right place. I haven't left out any information, and I'm ready to go. So any database that you use in mel.org is going to work very similarly. These buttons are always available. They might be in a little different place, but they're always the same. And you'll also be able to put your stuff into your keywords into the search bar, exactly the same. And your limiters on the left side of the page will also be the same. So once you know how to use Explora, you'll be able to use any of the resources in mel.org. It will work the same for Explora High School, Explora Middle School, and then we have Gale in Context Opposing Viewpoints. Because it works the same way, I'm not going to show you the entire website, but I am going to show you what Gale in Context does. If you are doing an argumentative paper, Gale Opposing Viewpoints is going to give you both sides of the argument. So you're going to have topics here that are listed. You can choose from browsers, or you can put in your keyword search, and you'll be able to see both sides of the argument. So no matter what side you choose, you'll be able to quote from the other side and be able to refute their arguments easily. It's a great place for argumentative essays. And if you're not sure what your topic should be for an argumentative essay, I highly recommend browsing the issues given. They have 482 issues that you can choose from to start your topic and begin formulating your research question. So thanks for following along in the lesson today. And as always, don't forget that your best resource is your librarian. You can find me at joy.curry@lansingschools.net. You can also find me at the.viking.librarian@gmail.com. And you can always leave a message on my voicemail, 755-4452, and I'll get back to you right away. So if you need help, please let me know.